Well, we've been covering issues of anti-Israel bias and terror apologism in the media for more than a year now. But what I'm about to reveal on tonight's show is one of the most extreme examples that I've seen. Nicole was a radio host for Sydney community radio station Skid Row, hosting a Latino music program in Spanish. She's a Jewish Australian with Mexican and Israeli heritage. This is what she posted online on Friday.
Hey everyone, I just came out of a meeting with Radio Skid Row 88.9 FM Sydney, where I was doing my radio show that was supposed to be a station that's all about peace, all about justice, all about, representation. And they basically just told me that if I cannot support the October 7th attacks as resistance and as something positive, and basically saying also that it's not true that anybody got killed or burned or anything, that if I cannot support the hostages being kept, then I don't align with their values and I cannot be there. If I cannot support the fact that Israel doesn't have a right to exist and that Jews don't have a right to be in Israel, I can no longer be at their station. And when I started to cry because I was trying to have a respectful conversation about agreeing to disagree and respect each other's views, even though I absolutely don't support terrorism and aggression and murder, they basically told me, "We don't appreciate your white women tears."
Now, it all began when Nicole was called into a meeting with the station manager on Friday after covering up this Free Palestine sticker on station equipment with a record album during the recording of one of her shows. When Sky News contacted station manager Manu Montero, he did not deny Nicole's claims, simply saying no comment. Today, he sent Nicole an email saying her actions amount to serious misconduct, and the station have chosen to end the volunteer relationship between her and Skid Row. He's also banned her and her guests from entering the station indefinitely due to, quote, our ongoing concerns for the safety of staff and volunteers. He reminded her, "You have the responsibility to respect the cultural, racial and religious backgrounds of your co-volunteer workers and to ensure Radio Skid Row is a safe and inclusive workplace for everyone." This Marrickville-based radio station is in Sydney's inner west, right in the heart of the Prime Minister's own electorate. And I tell you what, it has some form when it comes to anti-Israel hate. It broadcasts a weekly show called Red Inverted Triangle, Resistance Intifada Tahrir, hosted by a Palestinian activist. The Red Inverted Triangle, of course, being the symbol Hamas uses for its military targets. In March, the station's Instagram account published a post glorifying Palestinian terrorist Layla Khaled, the first woman in the world to hijack a plane in 1969 before she went on to participate in another hijacking the next year. And among many other anti-Israel posts, it promoted a Palestinian rapper wearing an F Israel t-shirt on its airwaves and on social media. Now for the part that should outrage you even more. You are helping to pay for all of this. On its website, Skid Row credits the Community Broadcasting Foundation, which administers millions in federal government funding every year to community broadcasters. Communications Minister Michelle Rowland declined to comment when we contacted her office today, but it's understood the government can't direct or influence how the foundation awards grants to community broadcasters as it acts independently. Skid Row also receives support from the City of Sydney Council. A council spokesperson said the station was awarded a $10,000 grant last year to produce a documentary series, but has no involvement in the station's day-to-day operations, adding the City of Sydney does not tolerate displays of hate or discrimination. Now, for more on this story, I'm pleased to say that Nicole joins me now. Nicole, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you for having me on these unfortunate circumstances.
Now, for full disclosure, I will say that Nicole is a friend of mine, but any viewer who's been following the work that I've personally been doing and that Sky News has been doing over the past 15 months will know that this is the type of story we would cover regardless. Nicole, it was a very upsetting video that you posted online. How are you feeling now?
I still can't believe it actually happened the way that it happened. I'm glad I made the video because now I've second guessed, can it even be that what they told me in that room is real? Because it's just unbelievable, unbelievable.
They haven't denied, of course, as I pointed out, your claims. Tell me what happened, because you were invited to this meeting under the guise of it being a casual discussion with your manager.
Yeah. I had my first show that I was hosting and that was going to be recorded. And while I had always seen their stickers up in the station, I assumed it's just one of the many people that use this movement because they cannot believe what they see in the news, and they think that they're doing this to speak up and stand up for something. But when it was going to be my show, I wanted to cover those up because I don't represent that. And I also don't know what my guests are going to feel. And I did it casually. So the manager saw it when he came into the show, and he told me if I could come in for a chat. And I told him I was excited to talk to him because I had been wanting to talk about this for a while. I was just waiting to get a little bit more rapport because I was still new at the station. It's a very difficult and nuanced conversation to have. And he said, oh, don't worry, it's just a casual conversation. He said, there's going to be a third person in the room. And I said, what? That doesn't sound casual. That makes me a bit nervous. He said, you can bring someone too, but don't worry. You have nothing to worry about. It's just casual. So I went in, and my whole spiel, everything that I wanted to say was just, I'm not here to talk politics. I'm not here to impose my views on you or vice versa. I just want to talk about respect. I'm sorry I covered it up without talking to you before. I hadn't had the chance. But ultimately, as a Jewish person who has had family that has died in the Holocaust, who is being affected now at this point, there was the woman that was in there who I'd never met before started laughing at me, and I was crying because I don't do well with confrontation. It's difficult. And, you know, the station manager, Manu, he said nothing about that. He just let it continue. And
she laughed about you as you were explaining how upset this made you and about your own family's experience with the Holocaust.
Yeah. She also laughed when I said it's because of these slogans and people using this movement for hate that there's things like firebombings in Melbourne and cars being vandalized and Jewish people feeling uneasy and unsafe in Sydney. And she continued to laugh. And I even asked her, why are you laughing? And she just, it never stopped. It never stopped. So I kept my cool, and they started trying to make it political and started saying, we don't stand up for colonialization, and if there was that's why we don't have Australian flags, we'd rip it down. If it was an Israeli flag, we'd rip it down. They said, we don't believe that Israel has a right to exist, and that from the river to the sea, Israel has to be Palestine, and the Jews shouldn't be there. And
that you had to get on board with those views as well.
Exactly. That's where I asked them. My husband came in with me, so he witnessed it, and I was really caught up. I was hard to think of what to even say. I couldn't believe they were saying this. And my husband even said, if she was to stay on and just do her show, which is about Latin community connection, and not talk about politics and not cover anything up, could she continue? And they said no, she would have to actively support our cause, speak about it, and attend our rallies. And they also mentioned that October 7th didn't even happen. They had their background in the picture of one of their radiothons. It was the Café. I told them, this is triggering for me. I can't share it with my Jewish friends. This is what a lot of the terrorists that came in on October 7th were wearing. They tried to turn it around on me, telling me that I'm calling the Café a terrorist, spin my words. I said no. I said that's what they were wearing. And that's when they started denying October 7th entirely. I said I can't do that. I said that I'm not going to stand up for that. I said that I can't support that. And they basically said, maybe we could find someone to teach you. And I said, I'm not here to be taught.
They wanted to re-educate you.
They wanted to re-educate.
Now, Nicole, we're only using your first name tonight, which you've asked us to do because you do feel scared.
I do.
Why do you feel scared, and why did you choose to speak out anyway?
I feel scared because what I thought were kind people who wanted peace and justice and representation, which is what the station said it was about, turned out to be the same people that are the ones who are inciting this sort of violence, promoting it. And it was terrifying to think that you never know who the person next to you is, especially as a Jewish person in this climate lately. And I don't know what they're gonna do. Like, to me, with my information, I have 2 children, I have a husband, so of course I feel a responsibility to them. I wouldn't be able to not do this though.
Yeah.
I would not be able to not come and do this because this is not a world that I want for my kids. And
well, thank you for speaking up. We're out of time, but I really appreciate it. And it's the courage of people like Nicole for speaking up about this, that we hear these stories in the first place and are aware of some of the more extreme elements that are in the community.